for all things Halloween. This is Hauntformer, and
I want to play a game.
In 20 seconds, I will begin sharing Halloween and horror-themed news. But will you have enough time to press the subscribe button? Wait, hang on. 20 seconds are up. Let's jump into the horror and Halloween-themed news, shall we? Up first, we have more details regarding the Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared TV show. Yeah, a TV show based upon the beloved YouTube series involving creepy puppets that get taught some very harsh real-life lessons. The series concluded several years ago, and ever since, fans have been waiting to see if these characters would return. Then, about 2 years ago, around Halloween time, it was announced that the Conan O'Brien, the Coco production studio, would be assisting the Becky and Joe team making Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared in producing a television show. And now we have more details revealing that it will be a part of a UK production where Becky and Joe are based. And hopefully, this means we will see the show sometime soon. Hopefully here in the States and overseas. It's really exciting because the fact that Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is now going to be on TV for a wider, broader audience is awesome, and I'm excited to see people freak out just as much as us here on YouTube did all those years ago. The world is a lot different because of the old virus that shall not be named here on YouTube, and people are wondering, is Halloween gonna get canceled? No, Halloween cannot get canceled because even if you close down trick-or-treating, anything, there will always be the Halloween spirit in motion. And Japan already has a solution to this, a solution that's very weird, but Japan is known for weird stuff, and I kind of dig it. Drive-in haunted houses. So you know, like a drive-in theater where you pull up and watch the movie? Well, a drive-in haunted house is similar. You pull up in your car, park your car, and then people come up to the windows, slap the windows, scare you, jump out by your windows. It's actually a really clever idea. I'd love to see more of it in practice, and perhaps because of COVID-19, we will see that here in America and elsewhere to substitute for walk-through haunted houses where the virus could linger in the air. It's a very interesting time period, especially for this industry, but I'm hopeful because people in the Halloween community and in the horror community are very creative, and I feel like things like this are great workarounds despite the limitations we currently have. American Horror Story, which was a pretty popular show back when it came out, has slowly lost traction over the last few years, and so it was decided to mix up the series a little bit, and it was finally greenlit to start an anthology show called American Horror Stories. See what they did there? Basically, instead of every season being a new cast of characters, every episode is going to essentially work like the Twilight Zone, where each episode is individual and unique. I guess the modern equivalent would be something like Black Mirror. Honestly, I love that kind of format because it gives you quick little bursts of stories in a short amount of time. I'm on board for this. Being someone who only saw the cult season of American Horror Story and actually digged it, I'm glad that they're going in a different direction, hopefully keeping the series, keeping us on our toes, if you will, and keeping the series fresh. Switching now from TV to video games, there's an announcement you might be interested in. The Dead by Daylight video game series has had its cast of characters, anything from Ghostface to Michael Myers. Well, now they're teaming up with a fellow video game to put Pyramid Head, yeah, the executioner from the Silent Hill games, into Dead by Daylight, which is honestly really cool. I'm not very familiar with either game. I really want to play Dead by Daylight, and I've been saying that forever, which I will one day. But Pyramid Head is an interesting choice for a villain. He definitely looks really cool. I'm not quite sure of what he does. I've yet to play the Silent Hill games, but I've heard a lot of positive things, and I think bringing these two games together is a really smart and bold move. Way back in 2004, a little horror movie came out that was kind of a big deal. Saw, which is one of my favorite horror films. Of course, the writers and directors of that film, James Wan and Leigh Whannell, continued in horror. James, of course, making the Conjuring and Insidious series, and Leigh going more recently to The Invisible Man, but previously a movie called Upgrade, which I heard some pretty polarizing but interesting things about. Well, he has announced that he is making that film into a TV show, which is pretty cool because I love seeing more horror programming on television, and that's awesome. Plus, the fact that movies are becoming series, or they're getting bigger than just their film, is awesome. In the same regard, The Invisible Man is also trying to get a sequel, which I don't know where they would go after the first one, but there are a few ideas that come to mind. Possibly an Invisible Agent style movie like the original Invisible Man had, or maybe a spin-off, something like that. Not trying to spoil that movie, but it's really cool. Blumhouse, who produced The Invisible Man, also has a few other horror projects up their sleeves, including Happy Death Day 3. Yeah, after the second one, they weren't gonna make the third one, but now they're really talking about doing it, and after my interview with Christopher Landon, plug intended, it's really cool to see his ideas come to light, and I would love to see what happens in the third installment, where he said stuff would get real weird. Sounds kind of cool. In the same regard, again, Blumhouse, Jason Blum, also announced that he is trying to still work on the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, something Scott Cawthon has talked about before, and the Blumhouse label, so to see that get made is nice, but at the same time, I feel like they're running out of traction here. The Five Nights at Freddy's bandwagon is something that has teetered and tottered over the last few years, and like the Slender Man movie from a few years ago, they don't want to release it when it's not popular in the public eye. Yeah. But how could I forget one of the coolest announcements, going back to Leigh Whannell, because that guy is truly a horror inspiration. It was announced from Universal, and I guess kind of the people who did The Invisible Man, that they're going to continue making the classic Universal monster movies into updated films by releasing The Wolfman. It's a movie in development right now, starring Ryan Gosling as the titular Wolfman, Larry Talbot, whatever you want to call him. And it will be directed by Leigh Whannell, who also directed The Invisible Man, which is so awesome because, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I love those classic Universal monster movies, and they tried a few years ago with The Dark Universe with The Mummy, which sucked. And The Invisible Man was really good. And then after that, they were talking about making a Dracula, which I talked about before, with James Wan, and that could still be on the table. And now Leigh Whannell doing The Wolfman. This is a really interesting time for those monster fans, including myself. And I think Ryan Gosling is a good choice. He's a great, phenomenal actor. And to see him pull off a sympathetic Wolfman would really tug at the heartstrings and really rejuvenate the love for monster movies. As I mentioned before, horror is shifting to the small screen, as well as the big screen, movies and TV. And Creepshow has greenlit the Season 3 scripts, even though Season 2 is still on the back burner because of COVID. I don't know how long this is going to take for us to get Season 2. Fingers crossed it's still this Halloween. Maybe on AMC, maybe on Shudder. I don't know where that stands right now. But the fact that Season 3 is already getting scripts written is really cool. And if anyone from Creepshow is watching this, which you probably aren't, if you need a script, I write. In other announcements, Clive Barker, the guy who is a very famous horror author, I basically call him the UK version, I guess, of Stephen King. He has filed a lawsuit. Yeah, just like the Friday the 13th lawsuit. Another one. Against the Hellraiser, because they were trying to work on a TV show, if you remember in a previous installment of this show. They're trying to make a Hellraiser TV show, and now Clive Barker is like, nah, I want those rights back. And honestly, wholeheartedly, I think he should, because he's the original creator of the characters and of the storyline, and if he will make a show that is better than what probably would have come out of the studio, I'm all for it. I think Clive Barker has the right to what he created. I don't know how the rights, contracts, and all that jazz worked, just like with Friday the 13th. All I know is that we want to see scary stuff, so let's make it happen. I wanted to save the best TV announcement for last. Amazon, and probably working with some other studios, has worked with Bethesda, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, and is in the works of making, drumroll please, a Fallout TV show. My goodness, I am so hyped. If you didn't know, I'm a huge fan of the Fallout games. If you've never played them, I recommend them. Why am I talking about them here? They definitely dive into the sci-fi horror that I really love, with zombies, radioactive bugs, and creatures and critters and monsters and mutants. It is a horror game and a sci-fi adventure game at the same time. And to see a TV show getting made about it is really stellar. I hope that they can keep the essence of the games in the show, following a lone wanderer in the middle of a wasteland, having to deal with post-apocalyptica in the harshest ways possible, with mutant bugs and zombies and raiders. It would be awesome. I would love to see this show get made, and I hope, being on Amazon, they have the budget to make that happen. So please, let's make that happen. If you didn't know, there was a little movie that was supposed to come out not too long ago called Kong vs. Godzilla. If you remember that. Well, again, go figure, coronavirus meddled its way into that and pushed it back. But, you know, there's a silver lining to every dark cloud. And there is going to be a comic book coming out about the prequel, if you will, to the film. A Kong vs. Godzilla comic that's going to explain the events, I guess, after Godzilla King of the Monsters and after Kong Skull Island, leading up to when they meet, which is really cool. Being someone who enjoys the art of comic books, it would be cool to see how a comic book series would play out. I've read some of the Kong comics in the past. I've looked at some Godzilla comics, so to have the two together and technically canon in this universe, the Monsterverse, is exciting. I'm down to see what they do. And finally, last and saddest bit of news. Halloween Kills has been pushed back to 2021. You knew I had to bring it up. You saw it in the thumbnail. Halloween Kills has been officially pushed back, which means Halloween Ends is now 2022. Which is a bummer, but I think they made a smart choice. They wanted the film to be released in theaters, and being someone who loves the theater experience and wants to see movies live forever, I respect their decision. We got a little teaser with Jamie Lee Curtis screaming to let it burn, which was exciting, to say the least. But another announcement that you may not have heard about, maybe seeped through the cracks, is that Dr. Loomis is returning in Halloween Kills. And I am a little concerned. I don't know how that's exactly gonna work, especially considering that the late, great Donald Pleasance has passed away. I don't know if there's gonna be some sort of CGI reconstruction like Star Wars Carrie Fisher. I don't know how that's gonna work. I'm a little sketched by that. I don't really like when they do that. But maybe they have another actor that's going to take over that role. It's a flashback, I'm assuming, to the events of the original Halloween right after Michael Myers falls off of the balcony. Really cool stuff. I'm so excited to see this movie. John Carpenter came out and said it's like super slashery, like a lot of people die, very intense. I am, you know, on the hype train with all of you guys, and we will stick through this next year together in preparation for Mikey Myers' big return to the big screen. And with that, I have concluded all of the news for this installment of Haunt informer. If you have any news you want me to talk about, send me an email at hauntformer@gmail.com, or just leave a comment and let me know which bit of news from this episode was your favorite. Thank you for watching, and remember, for all things Halloween, this is Hauntformer.